Hey everybody, this is chapter 5, section 5. This is called standard form. This is another way to write the equation of a line. This one's a little bit different than the y equals mx plus b that we had. So there's some rules you have to know. So you really need to make sure you go back and study this, okay? Once again, if I go kind of quickly, so if I'm going too fast, you need to get caught up, hit pause, get your notes caught up, and then hit play again and come back, okay? All right, first thing, the standard form of an equation is this. The ax plus by equals c. And basically this is kind of the same thing, you know, y equals mx plus b, except the m now really is kind of like your a. There is a number in front of the y, so that's really your b, and your b out here is really your constant or your starting point, but because we're writing it different, you can't really think of it that way, okay? So for us to write something in standard form, there's 3 rules that we have to have. So the first rule is that I need to get x and y on the same side of the equation. So basically, you know, I got to get it to look like this. Okay, so they have to be, and we always typically move them to the left-hand side. And I might say, you know, A and the B need to be on the same side occasionally. It's just your X and Y too, because they're attached. Okay, step number 2, or rule number 2, that the X term or the A, hold on a second, the A needs to be positive, okay? So a couple things here on these first 2 rules. If x and y are not on the same side of the equation, I'm going to have to either add or subtract something to move it to the other side of the equation. So we've been doing that ever since we started this class. We've been to move things across the equal sign. We have to either add or subtract to make it to the left-hand side. Okay, that's for x and for y. And rule number 2, the x term has to stay positive. Well, the only other thing it could be is negative, and so all year long, if we want to make something that's negative, we want to make it positive, we have agreed that we would divide or multiply. In this case, I'll put divide by -1, and that will allow us to change the sign. But we have to do it to the entire equation. Okay, so that'll be one thing we have to be aware of. Step number 3 is a little bit different. You have to have no fractions in the entire equation. So the A and the B and the C cannot be fractions, all right? To do that, we've done this all year long too. We're going to be able to get rid of a fraction, we're going to multiply by the denominator. Okay? So we've done that all year long. If we want to get rid of a fraction, we multiply it by the denominator. There were times when we multiplied by the reciprocal because that was a little bit better way to do it with what we were doing. But this one's much better just to multiply by the denominator. But once again, you have to do it to the entire equation, okay? So let's practice this. What you're going to do is we've got these 6 problems here, and we're going to go through that list of rules and say, hey, do we have this? Do we have that? If we get yes for the first 2, then we've got to fix it. If we get a yes for the last question, then we got to fix that. Okay. So the first one here, go through our three rules. Are x and y on the same side? Yes, they are. Is A positive? Well, yes, it is. Are there any fractions? No, there's no fractions in this problem. So this is already in standard form, okay? So just have to be able to do that, okay? So once again, let's go to this middle one. Are x and y on the same side? Yes, they're both on the left-hand side. Is A positive? No, it's not. I got to fix that. Let's go to the third one just to be careful. Are there any fractions? There are no fractions. So going back to rule number 2, if I want to make it positive, I'm going to divide everything by a -1. Okay, so basically I'm changing the sign of everything just to make A now positive 2x. But now I get -4y. and now I get positive 7. And through all my rules, are x and y still on the same side? Yeah. Is a positive? Now it is. Is there any fractions? No, there's no more fractions. Okay. All right. The third one here. Are x and y on the same side? Yes, they are. Is my a positive? Yes, it is. Are there any fractions? Yes, there are. So we got to get rid of the fractions. So if we go back to our rule, I'm going to go ahead and take the whole thing and multiply it by the denominator. In this case, the denominator is a 4. So I have to like distribute that 4 through the whole problem. So 4 times 5x is 20x. Okay, the 4's cancel out, so I'm left with this negative 3y. And 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8. Okay, x and y are still on the same side. A is now positive, and I did not have any fractions. Okay, so we're good to go. All right, this one down here. Are x and y on the same side? Yeah, they are. Is a positive? Yes, it is. Are there any fractions? Yes, there is. So I need to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply the entire thing by the denominator. In this case, it's a 3. So the 3's will cancel each other out. I'm left with 1x. Multiply it through. So 3 times y is 3y. Multiply it again to the 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, and once again, x and y are still on the same side. A is now still positive, but now a is a whole number. Okay. All right, middle one here. Are x and y on the same side? No, they are not. So we go back to that first rule. To move it, I'm going to have to get the x to the other side. In this case, I'll have to subtract it from both sides. And since I can't take that away from y, I'm just going to write negative 5x plus 1y equals, those go away, negative 9. Okay. Second rule, is my a positive? Well, there's my a. Now it's a negative 5, so no, it's not. Let's go to the third question. Is there any fractions? There are no fractions. So all I got to do is make the a positive. So that's step number 2. And to fix that, I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1. Okay. So this makes a positive 5x. This now makes a negative 1y. This now makes positive 9. Okay. So x and y are now on the same side. A now is positive, and there were no fractions. Okay. Last one. Are x and y on the same side? No, they are not. I need to move the y over. So remember, I'm going to do the opposite. So in this case, I'm going to add 2y. So I can't put them together, but I could rewrite it as 2x, or 3x, sorry, plus 2y equals 4. That they go away. Now, are x and y on the same side? Yes, they are. Is my a positive? Yes, it is. Are there any fractions? No. There's not, so now I have it in standard form. Okay. All right, so that's just, you got to know those questions. You got to run through it. If you get no on the first 2, you got to fix it. You know how to fix it now. If you get a yes on the last one, you know how to fix that. Okay. All right, I'm going to rewrite this a little bit bigger here. This is called finding your x and your y intercept. I can do this if I have something in standard form. So is my equation in standard form? Go through your questions. Are x and y on the same side? Yes. Is a positive? Yes. Are there any fractions? No. So I got what I need. So what I'm going to do now is make 2 points. I'm going to make an x-intercept and a y-intercept. And we call this the cover-up method. I'm going to cover up the 3x. So I'm going to kind of have to do it this way. I'm going to cover it up. When I cover it up, I make the x 0. So now what I want to think about is I'm going to solve for y by doing that. So I think I just divide by 4. and I get y is 6. So I'm going to come back here and put a 6 in where y should be. Okay. So let me fix this a little bit here. Go back to my original problem. Now what I'm going to do is cover up the y. And when I do that, I make the y 0. Okay, so now I just want to think, hey, now I got 3x is equal to 24 and solve it for x. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3, and I get x is 8. So that's my x value. Okay, so now I got 2 points, and I can graph it. So sketch yourself a little graph here, the y-axis, the x-axis, and find these 2 points. So 0, 6 is somewhere up the y-axis, okay? And 8, 0 is somewhere near the end of the x-axis, okay? And between 2 points, I can draw a straight line. Okay, there you go. So I can graph a line when it's in standard form. We call this the cover-up method. Okay. All right. Here, same thing, but now I give you a real graph. We're going to use the cover-up method. So let's make 2 points again. We cover up the x. When we cover up the x, we make it 0. So that leaves me with negative 2y equals negative 2. And I'll solve this now for y. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. And I get y is 1. So there's a point, okay? I'm going to cover up the y. So when I cover up the y, I make it 0. And that leaves me with this. And I want to solve it for x, but it's already solved. So I get a negative 2. So there you go. I got using the cover-up method because this was in standard form. X and y same side. Your a was positive, and there were no fractions. So I plot my 2 point, 0, 1 is here, negative 2, 0 is here, and I can draw a straight line between them. There you go. Okay. All right, going backwards to a first section of this chapter, just graphing lines. Remember, if it's y equals something, I don't have a slope. Okay, there was no 0x there. So whereas y 3, let's just say it's right there, and a slope or a line with a slope of 0 is horizontal, so it's just going to look like that through positive 3 on the y-axis. In this case, x is equal to 3. There is no slope here. So remember, when I have no slope, that means it's a vertical line and it's through whatever value x is. Okay, so just a reminder of some of those special things we get with the equations. Okay. All right. We need to rewrite this in standard form. So we got to go back to our 3 questions. Are x and y on the same side? No, they're not. So that means I've got to move the x to the other side. So I need to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 3 over 7x to both sides. So now I get this. They went away. I was left with that 5. And then are x and y on the same side? Yes. Is my a positive? Yes. Are there any fractions? Yes. I need to get rid of this fraction, so I'm going to have to multiply the whole thing, in this case by the denominator, which is 7. The 7's go away, so I'm left with the 3x. 7 times y is 7y. 7 times 5 is 35. And then you got your equation. Okay. All right. So that's standard form. Got some rules. You just have to know them. We've written down what we have to do to fix them. So you just got to keep a look at them. Work really hard on your classwork, and then make sure if you're not really sure, ask for help. Okay. All right. Have a good one.